Okay, now all I did to get where I want to go is I took my Velcro gasket and I lined it up with the holes, and I took a marker and I marked where the gasket lays, right? So that gives me my outline of what I want to cut out. 882s, which I like 882s because they're heavy castings and they tend not to crack, and they're one of the better out of the box flowing if you do a little bit of work, okay, for a 70 smog head. All right, and that's what we're going to. So this is what I have to work with, and this is what we're going to do. So this is the materials we're going to be taking out. Now this is the other one, the other 882, and I've already done the work. I still probably need to do a little bit of finish work down about right there. It's a little bit wide on the bottom, but other than that, that's pretty close. And I did the same thing. You can still see the silver paint around the edges. All right, there's a couple things you're going to need. First thing is cover your head. If you're bald like me, this thing throws out chips at a monstrous rate, and they're hot when they come off. Eye protection, always eye protection. Bill down. Hearing protection, always hearing protection, because this thing is monstrously loud. Okay, long sleeves, because the chips, they land on your skin, they burn. All right, and last but not least, I like to have a table to be able to use as a steady while I'm grinding this out and burning this in. And I'll use probably 3 different deals. This one is the largest one. This one is a little bit smaller for around the corners, and this one is designed really good for getting in those corner bits to get that shape that you're looking for. All right, so let's get some gloves on, and we'll get started. Now this is just rough, just getting the shape, okay? That's why you trace them around. That is going to flow a lot more. Now, like I said, this is just rough. This isn't anywhere being done, but this has been about 6 minutes. And so I have the basic shape. And so we're going to continue using this bit to do the other 3 ports. Okay, about halfway in, and this is just a quick, and you can see where I slipped a couple times, but that's the easy fix. We'll just have these decked, but that's the difference. You can get a good idea about just the airflow alone. Now I haven't pulled valves or anything, and we'll be doing all that, but I mean right now I'm just getting the ports straightened out, but that's about 25 minutes for those 2 ports. So I got another 25 minutes for these 2 ports. But as you can see, it just puts stuff everywhere. But it's not that hard of a process. It just takes time. And nice and slow, and the right tools. And that bit's been my bread and butter buddy for a long time. Okay, so we're going to finish these 2 out. Have you guys heard yet? Uncle Buck's Garage is giving its first giveaway, which is this engine as it sits. All right, this is the one in the video with almost 700,000 views. So if you want to know what's in this, watch that video, buy yourself a little bit of merch, and you're qualified. You just got to send me a screenshot of the purchase. Good luck and have a good day. Okay, we're an hour in, and I just got the sides and the bottoms done. I still got to flip it over and do the tops up in here, up on this edge. But you can kind of see where we're going with this. And I thinned this up a little bit, got rid of all that shrouding, if you want to call it that 70s fuel economy, no power stuff. Okay, so we're going to flip this over and we're going to put the blocks in, and we're going to get it up where we can see, and then we're going to work the top of the runners. Okay, now what I'm doing now is I'm using the drill on the high speed, and I'm using the cartridge roll, and I'm smoothing all the highs and low spots out, putting the polish on it. I haven't pulled the valves yet. Gonna have to pull the valves. Got to get the valve spring compressor out and do that. But this is just, the majority of it is right here. There's bowl blend work up inside there that you can do, that we're going to do little bits, take the roughness out, smooth it all up. But it's a pretty simple process. We're just knocking down all the highs and low spots. You can see the debris going. And that's all we're doing. Now we're making it pretty. Now we're just making all them runners pretty. Okay, I've been at it for about 4 hours, and I just want to go over a couple things so that you guys know and can do this for yourselves. Okay, now, the meat, the chunk of it to get the shape that you want, that's what you're going to use your die grinder for, okay? Then, after you're pretty happy with where it's at, that's when you start going, and I use a drill, and that's when I start polishing, because these cartridge rolls don't like 30,000 RPMs. They'll come apart, okay? It'll polish it really fast, but they'll come apart, and you'll go through dozens of them before you get the job done. I've used 4 of this type. This is, it's small on the bottom and large on the end, and it's used for getting in the corners. You can really do the fine eye work. But you can't get that nice, like on, on your, because you got to have something a little smaller, right? To fit the corners, to make the corners look right, to make the corners right size. So that's why, like a polishing kit comes with 2 different kinds. It comes with narrow on the front, wide on the bottom, and it comes with flat. Okay. Now, I've got the majority of the work done with this off the drill, but now I'm on the flats. And the flats is just finishing work. It's just making it look pretty. But it's necessary, and it works, and it makes power, because the more air you can get in that through there, the better. And the smoother it is, and the correct size, so you're not, so your main material surface or your port looks pretty much exactly like that. We're pretty good. I mean, I got, gasket matching it up. She's really on a nice. Now, you could actually probably even use, Felpro has different gaskets for bigger ports, smaller ports. This is just your standard replacement, and this is good enough for me. And this will give you an idea of what it can look like after a couple hours, or, well, about 4 hours worth of work. But that's light years ahead of what it was, smog heads. This is not hard to do. You just got to take your time. Just remember, you take the chunk out with the die grinder, and then you finish it up with the drill. And that way you're not removing too much material. And as you can see, she's pretty much going to suck as much air as she possibly could. I mean, I'm sure there's guys out there that have the guru and the zen to it, that know how to do stuff like this, but for a home job, it doesn't get any better than that. Plus, like I said, they're 882s, which means they're heavy, which they're the heavy casting, which they're less prone to crack. Plus, 882s have hardened exhaust valve seats already in them from the factory. So you ain't got to worry about that with race fuel or unleaded gas. You ain't got to worry about the exhaust seats eroding on you over time. So I like 882s. Do a little bit of work. They flow really good. hardened exhaust seats, you're good to go. It's going to be an afternoon's worth of work, and I've been at it for about 4 hours, and I got the runners done, but I don't have the bowls done. First thing you're going to do is you're going to number all of the valves. All right, we're going to tear these apart so we can get to finish porting the exhaust ports and the intake runners. But the first thing you want to do is you want to mark them all, and they're all going to go on this surface, lined up where they need to go, so nothing gets straightened away. So those numbers will be on the bottom for the numbers that's on the heads. Okay, keep it straight, one thing at a time. Take your time, and this will work out really good. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get this up and around. We're going to take a piece of wood, put it up underneath there. That way we got nice area to work with. This is your tool. This is your valve spring compressor. And the way this works is that this part goes up against the back side of the valve like this. And then this part goes over the cup, right? And then you take the trigger and you compress. All right, now she's compressed. All right, now we're going to take our retainers off. All right, just like this. All right, and then you just slowly let her loose, which sometimes they don't go very slow, but you've now popped it loose. You have your retainer, you have your splash cup, which will reuse these, and then you have your dual springs. And then, wow. Huh. Okay. There wasn't a seal. Oh, there was. No? Okay. All right. Yep, them guys are pretty good. Let me explain what's going on. Okay, so this is your valve seal right here, right? This part right here. And this is your umbrella seal, right? This goes over like this to keep oil from going down the valve into the combustion chamber, all right? Because, you know, push rod comes up, rocker arm, oil, all in this valley right here. Okay, so we're going to replace them with a much better version of that. You have your dual springs, right? You have the valve, which actually doesn't look that bad. That's an exhaust valve. You have your keepers. That's what goes in here. But the thing is, this valve should have had a rubber seal right here, and it didn't. That's not good. I'm wondering if any of them have them on them. We got, 15 more to go. That's not a good sign. All right. Somebody kind of, if this has ever been done before, somebody kind of missed a mark on that for not putting that seal on, but we're going to put that seal on, and we're going to reuse. These are basically just shrouds that go like this over the spring and help control oil consumption again through the guide. So we might actually reuse them, but we're going to put all new hardware, all springs, everything through here, because they don't look too bad. They're old, but we're putting a little bit of a higher lift cam than this looks like it was used for. So yeah, we're going to replace all this. I don't trust any of this because I don't know where it came from. Once you get them all took apart, that's what she did. This is all your junk. And like I said, I got 1 through 4 all lined up. We ain't gonna mess with that. And here's all your old hardware, with most of this can get thrown away because I'm not trusting any of it. Now we have access to all this stuff, so we can work on all of this. Okay, so they don't look too bad. You know, they ain't really sunk in. They're all working. So, all right, let's get this one tore apart. Then we'll start working on the heads themselves. Okay, I want to go over a couple things. All right, now, on these heads, there were two different kinds of retainers, all right? This is the retainer they had on the exhaust valves, all right? See it? This is the retainer they had on the intake valves, all right? Now, they're different now. They are actually the same height. Like this. Like this. They're actually the same height. But this is exhaust, and this is intake. A little beefier. Okay. Now, these are splash guards, basically, okay? How this works is, say, like on the exhaust, you have an umbrella seal, right? You have the valve sticking out of here. You have the spring around it. And then you have this splash guard that goes around the springs. Goes on top of the springs like this. Just like that, okay? Now, what these are supposed to do is take the oil that's coming off the rocker arm, drop it onto the valve spring. It's basically deflect it down the spring and keep it off of this guide right here, because the valve goes into that guide, and you don't want oil to drip down. Even though this is a machine fit, there's still enough room in there for liquid, a hot liquid, to get down past the valve stem, past this valve stem right here. All right, this doesn't have much evidence of it. It stayed pretty clean its life, but the whole premise of this is to keep, because this is a direct port in a direct. This is a direct lead into the combustion chamber, and you don't want oil fouling your combustion chamber, but you have to have oil to keep all this lubricated. So, with a combination of this type of seal on the intake, and where'd it go? Right there. This type of seal on the exhaust, with the deflectors on the springs, that's supposed to keep the oil out of your combustion chamber. Well, we're not going to have to do that, because we're going to put this type of seal, brand new ones that ain't wore out, because these are they were pretty loose. And these are junk. I hate these. We're going to replace them with brand new versions of these, nice and tight and bigger and beefier. And we won't need, we could, if we wanted to, put them on there, but I think I'm going to keep them back for in the future for something else. Okay, this is what we're looking at. I took a little wire wheel and knocked all the dust off, but this is what you're looking at right here. This is kind of stuff right here. See these little bumps, you want to call them? That's casting marks, okay? They're in all these, all over the place, okay? These can get smoothed out. Now, the exhaust is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's you know, it comes out the exhaust hole right there and goes in the intake and comes up in here. Okay, now, where you want to pay attention to this, the exhaust ports are all just to polish it out, make it smooth, make it leave as clean as possible, because it's a straight shot. There's no ridges. There's no nothing. I mean, it's as clean as it comes. All right, along with the hardened exhaust seats. Okay, now the intake on this is that on all of them, all the intakes, if you reach your hand in, headed towards, this is where the intake mounts up, okay? So the runner runs through here, right? This is your alleyway for your intake charge, gas and air, to come through. It hits the back of the valve, all right? Now, on this one, there is a ridge here. There is a little bit of a ridge here. You can see it. See that little line? There's a ridge. And there's a little ridge here. There's a bump. There's an actual indentation bump. I don't know if I can get you a picture of it, but you can see where the color changes. That's about 1/8 of an inch in there. So what we were going to want to do, and then on this side, on all of them, it's pretty flush. There's not any restriction. It's pretty good. Okay, so you're dealing with a line ridge here that needs to be smoothed out, a little bit of a line here, and then you have this ledge on this side, which, let's go to the whiteboard, I'll tell you about it. This is your runner coming in to your valve. All right, just like this. And this is your valve opening right here. All right. Now, if you have a bump here and a bump here, and the airflow is coming in, what do you think it's going to do when it hits that point? It's going to spin around. What you want is you want this to come through at an angle and go right into the piston hole. With the piston, you want that air going right in. You don't want on the back top side or on the sides, you don't want anything bouncing the air around. You want it flowing straight in. Okay, so your best case scenario is we'll take the one that has the bump and it has a little bump like this on the, and the valve is right here. You want that as smooth as possible. This right here, this area right here, you want that smooth. And this little bit, there's going to be a little bit of a ridge here that you can smooth out really easy with a cartridge roll. You don't have to have an actual bit on it. It'll smooth it right out. But this one, if you feel it, it feels like it's like that big. All right, it feels like a big old hump. And when that air hits it, it's going to make all kinds of bouncing around and turbulence. You don't want that. You want it going straight past that valve and into the cylinder. So that's what we're taking out, this part and the parts on the sides, to make it as smooth a transition as possible. If you feel more comfortable, you can tip it up this way and put a piece of board on the backside, because this is the area we're looking at right here, this little ledge right here, and you're just cleaning this up. So I do all four and then move it around, but yeah, it's just a matter of making it smooth, making a smooth transition. Because like I said, that air is coming in here and it's going to hit this bump and it's going to be turbulent. All right. Because the valve is going to be opening and you can see where the cylinder is, and that's going to bounce shit around here and bounce things around. Now, a lot of people say that's good for atomization, blah, 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 blah. Okay. But when you're wanting to make power on the top side, this is what you got to do. You got to clean this all up. So we're going to continue with this, get these all done, and start working from there. All right. I got my hearing protection on. I got my eyes on, gloves. All right. This is what we're going to do with the exhaust. All right. We're just going to take the big chunks out with this. Okay, now I started the process as you just watched, and there's still, everything is smoothed out. It's a nice smooth transition. There's no sharp edges, there's no big ledges. I still want to, I'm gonna flip this back over. Actually, those are pretty good. What a little bit I did. Now, as you can see, you know, guides, exhaust guides. You know, the exhaust is pretty straightforward. There isn't no edges. It just out it goes. Okay, so we could polish on this a little bit, which we're going to, but see if I can get my light to work. But yeah, you're just whittling down all the high and low spots, and that's pretty good for the intake. Okay, I just want to try to get some light in here so I can show you what's going on. All right, now you see that line? That's your casting flash, all right? And this is where I've worked it. You can see the shiny spots is where I've worked it back. And there's still the flash. Now this radius here is pretty good. Got a little bit of junk in the corner. But this is your line of where your air is going to come out through here, through your valve. So it shoots down the runner and it hits a corner and comes out with that valve open. Okay. So you want to, like I said, you want to make that as smooth a trip as possible. Okay. It now, you know, there's a lot of things in here like this. You see that bump right there? That bump. See that bump? That's the kind of casting stuff that's in these that you can take out. You know, they all have them. See, bump. It's just part of the process of making these things. So that's the kind of stuff we're going to clear out and polish this up and just keep working. But just smoothing everything up and getting rid of all the junk. See, I can feel that there's a big ridge right here that I'm snagging my finger on. That's a casting flash that needs to come out, and a little bit farther up in there on that one too. So it's just little things like that, and you just keep working until you get it where you like it. Okay, and we got these kind of cleaned up, polished a little bit, and I know that the system doesn't like the LEDs, but basically I took and I cleaned all these up. So I opened these up a little bit all the way around. Nothing special. You know, the exhaust ports are pretty close from the factory. I mean, there's not much hogging you need to do or would need to do on this. They're a lot better than the intake side. But what I wanted to show you was this. Those ports, okay? They're on both heads, on both sides. Now, it doesn't look like a solid in the back. Now, what that is your exhaust heat crossover that goes on the bottom of an intake. It's this thing right here. They tie into the two exhaust ports, and that's what, back in the day, that is what would get your engine up to temperature faster on cold days. It would run an exhaust manifold, it would run an exhaust pulse heat underneath the manifold. You think of it, head here, and manifold in between. And if you look at all the factory stock and aftermarket, some of the aftermarket stuff, they have the heat crossover, and that's just for drivability in cold climates. Warms the engine up, or warms everything up faster on the intake side. So we're going to block that off because we're not going to use it. But that's what, if you get into this and you start looking and you're doing exhaust ports, you're like, okay, well, I got nice back there, and then all of a sudden I got these two holes in the center, and like, what the hell? Did I get something wrong? Is something broke? No, that's just the way they're designed, like I said. And on the driver's side, yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is. All right, so I've hogged them out a little bit with this one. I've been polishing with the deal, and there's no rough edges, no nothing, and that's about as good as I do exhaust. All right, so now we got to do the same thing on that one. I'd say I know that these cameras hate LED lights, but I'd say she's pretty good. I would say they're pretty good. Yeah. I'm sorry for the waviness in the photo, but yeah, I don't have a halogen light to use. Yeah, I'd say they're pretty good. Okay, so that's one. We got to finish on this one. Okay, this is head number 2. That's head number 1. This is head number 2. Now, I wanted to show you something. Now, as you can see, I'm looking in here. As you can see, there's nothing out of the ordinary in this port or these ports. But looky right here. I'll show you the shadow. Look at that big old nasty casting line that's in the middle of that port. That's taking up volume, okay? And you can tell it's a casting line that never got cleaned from the factory, because this is your casting line, all right? 2 molds, leaves a little mark and all this, you know. So somebody on the Saturday shift or the night shift or whatever missed the mark and left a big old nasty chunk of junk in this intake runner. I mean, the exhaust port. So we're going to clean that out. All right. Yeah, you can see it knocks decades of old crud out of these ports. Just decades. And see, they're just, yep. See how nice that is? It doesn't take much, you know? Doesn't take much at all. And you got a smoother, nicer, easier path. I got all the valves cleaned, all right? And drop them back in the hole. But we need to get a little bit of lubrication on that first. We use a little bit of marble. But we're going to drop them all in the hole, lap them in for the first time, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, first thing you're going to need valve grinding compound. You can use anything you want, but I use marble on this. This is what I got. All right, it's real simple. You're just going to get a little on the stem to get it in the hole for a little lubrication. All right. Like I said, these are all still just numbered. You know, 7. Everybody has their own way of doing this. This is just the way I do it. And they all got grinding compound on all the valves. They got a little bit of oil in the valves so that they slide good. All right. And then we're just going to chuck them up with the drill and give them a spin. That's all we're going to do. All right. It's a pretty simple process. I mean, I have one of those little tools, but I like doing it this way better. It's faster, and like I said, I have one of these little tools, one of these, and they suck. They really suck. And we'll pop them out and we'll see how we did. All right. Yeah, there we go. All right. Yep. Nice ring around the head. Nice. See it? There you go. Full contact. See? Looky there. Yep. Wipe this off. See what she looks like. Oh, she's gorgeous. Okay, here, I'll show you the head itself. Now see that brand new, nice, shiny all the way around, and there's no missing spots, and there's no high or lows. That's the way it should look. And like I said, see that nice? Yep. Boom. Boom. Yes, sir. That's how good. Now we'll check all the rest of these and we'll go on to the next head. Okay, valve jobs are all done. Everything's verified. I wiped everything down, but they still need to be cleaned. Now, this ultrasonic cleaner, I love this thing. I love it, but this is about as far as you can get in there with a head. But the most important part is I want to, from like the water jacket down, which there's enough room for me to cover the whole thing. I really worry about this surface. I'm not really worried about this surface right here. There's enough space in here for me to cover it up to about right here and give these things a bath. With all the grinder dust, the grinding roll dust, all the compounds, all the stuff that's been in this, and plus they are 40 years old, they need a bath. So we're putting them in the ultrasound. We'll see how they turn out. All right, we got the valve seats are all good. They're all cleaned up. Everything's done. This is where we're going. This is the Summit kit. This is kit number, Let me see. Kit number SUM7174 small block Chevy valve spring kit. Now this kit is up to 490 lift, okay? And this is extra, okay? This is Felpro 5112. These are the rubber seals that go on the valves right here, okay? But this kit from Summit, it's about $109. It comes with all the springs, the good seals, all right, for all 18 of them, no more umbrella seals, and comes with all your valve spring pieces, okay, and it comes with all 16 new retainers. So you get your springs, sets of 4s in the box, everything you need to handle up to 490 lift. Now they do have another kit that goes up to 550 lift, which I think has different springs, especially different springs on it for like if you're running a hydraulic roller cam. So they do make 2 different kits, and I think they're about the same price, but I've never bought the bigger kit because I never needed it. And now I got them both laid out here, but I only want you to do one at a time, okay? So we're going to take 2 sets of springs. We're going to take all the hardware, all right? We're going to lay it all out. And did that ultrasonic cleaner do a good job cleaning all this? It's wonderful. Okay, let's set this up. All right, first thing we're going to do is we are going to put the valve seals on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there's my 8 for this one, and they just press on. Boom. That's all they do. And you think, you know, they won't stay on, but they will because of the retainers and the keepers. They'll stay in place. All right, those are on. Now, these are going to be tight, okay? They're designed to, you know, keep the oil off them, so we have to do something to lube this up a little bit. We'll take a little bit of lithium. Ain't nothing wrong with this. It'll burn off. First time you fire it off, it'll burn off. See how I just pushed it right out? That's how tight these are. So we're going to have to do that on all these. Yep. Yep. Boom. Okay. We're going to end up doing that on all of these. Just a little bit. Just for some lubrication. And also, the lithium will help hold. Yep. The lithium will help hold the retainers on. The keepers on. So once we get this done, then we'll go to that. Yep, they are definitely tight. Okay, now that the seats are in and the valves in place and those seats are tight enough, they're holding the valves up. Now you need to put your valve stem seals on that were, if you watch the other videos, weren't on this. So we are going to do one better. These are already better than the originals, those crappy umbrella ones. And then we're going to put the seals on the valves like was supposed to have been on there to begin with. All right. Now, the way this works, the top landing is for the keeper. The bottom landing is for that seal. So it's a very simple process. They already got a little lithium on them from getting them in, so it should not be that difficult to put one of these on. It should just slip right over, just like that, just in the hole, just like that. And we're going to do that 16 times. All right, and there's 16 in the package. So we're just going to put some seals on, and then we'll go to the next step. And the lithium really does help. Goes right on there. Look at that. Goes right in the groove. Boom. That's all you got to do. Okay, we're going to do all these right now real quick. All right, this is what it should look like so far. All right, little lithium. Okay, so you're going to have your keeper here that's going to hold the retainer that's going to have the spring. All right, so the oil comes up through the push rod, goes over the rocker arm onto the top of here and splashes, right? So first thing it's going to try to do is go down this cup. Well, that's your first line of defense right there, is that seal for the cup, okay, to keep the oil out of this to go into the combustion chamber. Then your second line of defense is this positive seal right here, which that's light years ahead of the originals that were on there from the factory, those umbrella seals with them skirts on the springs to try to keep it out of this area. Much better system, and you want to make sure that you can see it spins. They're all on there. What happens over time is, at heat, these become hard and brittle, and they break and crack off, and they end up in the oil and in the filter, and then they don't seal good. So light years ahead of what it was originally back in 1978. All right, line them all up, and this is the spring. They'll go either way you go. All right, spring, retainer. All right, they're all the same. They all come in a kit. And here are your locks. Okay, now like I was saying, the lock goes in that groove. See? And see how that seal sits right underneath it like that? That's exactly what it's supposed to do. That's supposed to keep the oil that might get past this, because there's going to be a little gap between the two. All right? That might get through there. This is your protection against that. And then there's your big good protection against any oil getting through and into your combustion chamber and causing, so that's exactly how it should look. We'll put a little lithium on each one of these so that these will stick in place once we get the springs put in with the spring compressor, so that we don't lose it, and then let her loose and drive her home. Okay, I got lithium on all these. I'll show it to you. So you can see there's lithium on all of them. And that's not for any kind of lubrication. That's just to hold these little boogers in place while I get the springs on, okay? So, take this. Take my spring compressor. Here, open her up. All right, and then we're going to do this. Feel it in the cup. All right. Get it centered onto the cup. And then plunge her home. Oops, she almost slipped off. That's the problem you have. All right. And then keep her. All right. I might have to adjust this cup here. Yep, keep her. Whoop, come on. Stay on there, baby. Like I said, this is the difficult part, keeping it in place while you're releasing it slowly. And like I said, this one doesn't like to go slow, but it went slow. Okay, there's the first one, and I'm going to need to adjust that for the size of the cup. Yep, she's a little bit loose. As you can see, there's a little bit of gappage there. We'll adjust that here real quick. All right, and it's just a matter of, I just adjusted it. I tightened it up a little bit with this screw right here, and so that it doesn't have any wiggle room. All right, and if you want to see, that's how that goes on there. Now that's exactly how you want it to go. And now we just got to do 15 more of them. It's in the pocket, it's solid, and yeah, now we just got to do 15 more. I'll show you one more. We'll see how it works now that we got this thing adjusted. We'll do one more. Make sure that feel like the spring's in the pocket. See? Lithium grease. Hold the keeper in place. Come on. There we go. Hold the keeper in place. Yeah, and this is tedious. And it's hard. It's easier if you have a helper. But since I don't have a helper today, since he's at work, then we'll go nice and slow. There we go, just like that. All right. And there we go. There's that. She's pretty good. She's in the cup. And what I like to do, I don't know if anybody else does this, but I just like give it a tap to make sure she's, yep, make sure she's working. All right. And we'll do that on all of these. There's one done. All right. These all went in pretty clean. They're all lined up. I give them a little tap with the hammer. Ding, 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 ding. They all sound good. Threads are good. They're all sealed up. So, again, I can't tell you. I mean, that sonic cleaner right there is one of the best things I ever got. I mean, it really did a job. Cleaned all this out. And like I said, I'm going to spray this one more time with brake cleaner. And then probably tape it off and paint them. Or maybe paint them when I get them on the engine. But that's how you do it. So if you want to see my best little video ever made, right here. If you want to see the one that they say is best for you, is right there. Y'all be good.